Uh, as this book sold quite well, I wrote a second book called July the 4th, 2016, The Last Independence Day. That book is still available. It's an uncomplicated book that explains complicated issues very clearly. It talks about the Federal Reserve. It talks about many issues pertinent to our present economic situation. In fact, it sort of begins the prediction of what economic disaster that we're in now. Then wrote a book called Money. Money is a book that explains in detail our financial situation, what it's come to, how it's occurred, and this was written over a year before the first signs of the present depression that we're in. It in essence predicted what was coming, and it did so in detail, and also contains information pertinent to how this will all turn out. Then I wrote a short book, which was kind of a lark. I think you'd really enjoy it. The book is called The New American Newspeak Dictionary. I got the idea actually because there was an author who wrote a book called The Devil's Dictionary. I don't know if any of you have ever heard of it, but it was sort of a sardonic, very, very funny book. And that's where I got the idea from. And I got the idea because the news anchors and news producers in this country produce so much BS that virtually nobody can figure out what's going on. So I wrote this book, and I have all phrases and words and things, and explaining what they actually mean, also with some humor, and it's quite funny. It's in the process of being updated now, and we hope to have an updated version of the book out probably in another 5 or 6 weeks. Then, in the meantime, I had written a great many articles, and I write for numerous newspapers, the Nationalist Times among them, for which I do some pretty extensive writing. And I had accumulated over about an 8-year period literally hundreds of articles and essays. Some essays were for magazines like the Barnes Review. Others were for newspapers, the Edgefield Journal. I wrote for papers in England. I wrote for papers in Switzerland, in America, magazines all over the place. And so I thought it would be a great idea to sort of put all of this together. And unfortunately, as I did this, when we paged the book, we came up with 1,450 pages, and my bindery said they couldn't bind that many pages in a book. So we had to weed out and eliminate some of the less interesting items, and we were left with about 776 pages of really great articles. And they're separated and divided into different topics so that you can actually look things up. Originally, I did this because I do about 300 talk show hosts shows a year, and I thought the talk show hosts could really use this book as a reference, you know, when they're talking to guests and maybe to get ideas for new shows, and that's where many of the books have been sold to talk show hosts. After that book, it was just before the beginning of the campaign, about a year and a half ago, that the Obama and McCain, or what I call the McBama garbage, began. And I became totally infuriated by the way Dr. Ron Paul, a congressman from Texas, was dealt with in the media and by the powers to be. It was positively disgusting the way the issues were sidelined. Dr. Paul had, in fact, a meeting